wish, in fairness, that these girls would be like Jill and sue their father for their rightful pay for the show. And I wish the parents and the girls would get lawyers, get the money they deserve for being on the show, making all the money for their parents. I mean, think about that. They were put in a position where they were exposed by the media, by this release. TLC cancels the show. Then Jim Bob forces the girls to go up on air and then do another show after they've been out to the entire world. And then they're forced to do Counting On, where they have to talk about and relive that they didn't ever want to talk about publicly, but they have to now because their dad wants to keep making money. And their names are the writers of the show. It's Jill and Jessa Counting On. But then you find out that Jill and Jessa were literally never paid. How is that legal? All they're getting is more attention to the fact that by their own father and brother. When their brother's was exposed, instead of Jim Bob walking away and saying, you know what, we need to take time for our family. We need to actually clean things up. We need to heal. He forced the girls to be on another show and talk about it. And they weren't paid. It's sick. I mean, and you think about that Megyn Kelly interview and you think about what they went through, and you hear like Jill talk about it today, where she's just like, I didn't want to go up there and talk about it. I didn't want to be on the show after everything happened. They'll never get justice. Even say they win this, there's no justice, because the real justice they deserve is not from the police who released these records. The justice they deserve, in my opinion, is from what Josh did to them and what their father did to them. Their father and their brother them. And they're the ones that have been ignored by the family. Who is Jim Bob to this day running around and trying to protect? Who was Jim willing to discard? This is the part that has always angered me, and that Jill Duggar has been shunned by her family. Shunned by her family, made to be felt like she's the bad one, made to be told that her siblings can't see her, made to be like shamed by people and judged by people, when Jill was the only one that stood up for herself and said, I'm not doing this anymore. And Jill is the only one that has said, enough, my dad, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to have a relationship with my dad. He was shunned for doing what was right. And he is around town, chasing around son, paying for his defense, ignoring his daughters, shunning his oldest daughter. What the kind of father does that? There is absolutely no denying that for Jill to heal, she has to separate herself from her father. The problem is by separating herself from her father, she loses everything else, because her father, in my opinion, is such a narcissist that he can't have anybody that even remotely says no to him. When you say no to Jim Bob, you're shunned. Look what he did to Paul Caldwell. Look what he's done to Jill. If you say no to Jim Bob, look what happens. Look what he did to his sister and to Amy. When you say no to Jim Bob, look what happens. You get smeared. You get rumors started about you. You get called names. You get the community turned against you. You lose access to the friends and to the family. You lose everything. You wrap up your family in NDAs so they can't tell the truth, so they can't talk about what you're doing. You know, the person from the church said to me that Jim Bob Duggar is running a cult. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they said, you know, he's the most influential person at the IBLP right now, even though he holds no position at the church or at the IBLP, and he's not a board member. He's literally still the most influential person. He's the most famous. He brings in the most people to this company. He's basically the next Bill Gothard, is what they said. But it wasn't just that. It was that Jim Bob has created a cult following in Northwest Arkansas, where apparently like families moved to be with him and the Duggars. They literally moved to be there. And then Jim Bob is their leader, and they just follow Jim Bob around, and he has all of this power and all of this money. And this is the other point. They didn't raise their children. Who raised their children? Jana, Jessa, Jill, and Ginger. Those 4 girls raised the kids. It's just really disgusting that all of these people around Jim Bob, it's always about them. It's always about Jim Bob. It's never about him. His own daughters weren't paid. His niece, Amy, wasn't paid. And this is what I will end on with Amy and his sister. Amy and Deanna have been completely and utterly demonized by Jim Bob. They have been made to be, Deanna is the one that's the divorcee who has problems with alcohol, that's unstable. I mean, these are the things that have been put out in the media, and the slander that's been said about Deanna, which is not true. She was married to a man that was horribly abusive. She survived that marriage. She's a hell of a good mom. She loves her daughter. All she ever wanted was for her daughter to be happy, for her to be happy. And Jim Bob saw Amy as a golden ticket for the show. Amy was never paid for her time on the show. Amy was put into a position on the show where she was constantly degraded, demeaned, exploited, said that she was the slutty one, the bad one, the rebel. Amy is not the slutty one. Amy is not the rebel. Amy is not the bad kid. Amy is a business owner with a heart of steel, with guts of steel, with a voice that is so hard. She will fight for anyone. She is so faithful. But you know what? Amy doesn't give a shit if you believe in God or you don't believe in God, if you are LGBTQ+, if you're straight, if you are, she doesn't care what your ethnicity is. She doesn't care what your race is. Amy loves everyone. Amy is kind to everyone. Amy goes out of her way to love on everyone. Amy is the kind of person that when you are having a rough day, will send you a message and tell you that she loves you, that she's praying for you, that all she wants is for you to be happy. Amy's the kind of boutique owner that sells clothes to her patrons, and she learns her customers. And you guys, you know that purple sweater that you guys love? The only reason I have that purple sweater is because I started buying clothes from Amy. And I said to her, I really wish you had more purple in your store. And she happened to be with one of her vendors, and she noticed this purple sweater. And she said, I ordered this sweater because of you. You need this sweater. That's Amy. And Deanna is the kind of woman that will do anything for her daughter, that wants to be able to be there for her nieces and nephews, that's been put into an NDA, that's not allowed to talk, that can't even have the decency to speak about her own family. And she's the bad one, and Amy's the bad one. It's disgusting. The both of them are the sweetest, most loving human beings I've ever had a chance to get to know. Neither one of them has a mean bone in their body.